Yeah, maybe, but the racket will talk.
Welcome to another episode of the Racket Will Talk podcast. It's not a full episode, so I'm not going to give it its full numbered name, but it's Wimbledon finals weekend, and we decided to do an extra special preview of the finals. If you can see me, I'm outside and wearing green to celebrate the end of the grass season. Although I think the Hall of Fame Open might still be going on, but the end of the proper grass season and the Wimbledon finals. And I thought we were particularly well placed to preview this because the women's final is one player whom we both picked to be in the final, and one player who is Sam's absolute favourite player, who I genuinely think on the whole we together we probably know quite well. I think I know her quite well, even though I wouldn't consider myself a huge fan. And then the men's final is a rematch of the best match I've ever seen. So super exciting set of finals, and worth me waking up relatively early on a weekend for. So here we are. Hello Sam, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. I'm really excited.
I'm sure you are. What a weekend coming up for Sam, who is a massive Iga fan and a massive Jannik fan. So, in case you were not sure yet, I was actually on the phone to my friend this morning, and her boyfriend was like, "Yeah, Sabalenka in the final," and I was like, "No, Sabalenka not in the final." I think people just kind of assumed because she was in the semi-final and it was a close match. But here we are. We've got a women's final of Amanda Anisimova playing in her first ever Grand Slam final, and Iga Świątek playing in her first Wimbledon final and just her second final of the season, both of which have been on grass. What can we say? And then the men's final that we might not preview today, we'll see how we're doing for time, of Carlos Alcaraz against Jannik Sinner, a rematch of the Roland Garros final, and I believe the first Wimbledon rematch of a Roland Garros men's final since 2008. So if you're looking for meaning and prophecy and all this kind of bullshit, it's there. We'll start with talking about the women's final. Should we talk a bit about the individual players there? We've talked about their runs before in the last one, but we can...
They played 2 extra matches since we last covered them, so yeah.
And what were they?
So Amanda Anisimova played Pavlyuchenkova on Tuesday, I think it was. And I mean, that was quite... It looked like it was going to be not much of a match at all, actually, for most of it. She was up 6-1, 5-2, I want to say. And then it became a match, really suddenly. She got really tense, I think, trying to finish shit off. And Pavlyuchenkova, who looked kind of hampered or, not fully on it the whole way, just suddenly kind of lit up, and then suddenly it was this epic tussle that Anisimova won in that set, I want to say 10-8 in that tiebreak or something along those lines. So ended up being quite dramatic, that one. And then she, in another very dramatic affair, she defeated the best player in the world, Aryna Sabalenka, in the semi-final. What did you make of all of that?
I made a lot of that. And I didn't feel like I had the space to say it at the time because I was on the plane while most of this match was happening. So as soon as I touched down, I opened up BBC iPlayer app and started the match from the beginning and was glued to my phone watching it. So by the time I had finished that match and wanted to kind of share my feelings, everyone was already talking about Iga putting on the best performance of the 21st century on centre court. So I kept my thoughts in and I thought, you know what, save them for the pod. I think Anisimova was incredible, and I think it's been a bit overlooked because I think she had this tight match against Sigmund in the round before, and it's probably not her highest, well, definitely not her highest level we've seen in slams in recent years.
Actually, yeah, I can't wait to cover that in the review, but that was really
Sigmund's
interesting.
match. Yeah, it was shocking. I was in Rome on holiday this last week, and there's a picture of me sat in some piazza looking at my phone following Sabalenka, like, is she about to lose to Sigmund? Great way to spend your holidays. But so because of this, I think people were not super impressed by the Anisimova performance, but I think as an Anisimova performance goes, it was super impressive because she was there the whole match, and a lot of people expected that as it got towards the third set, Sabalenka's experience and her championness would show, and that she would come through that. She's so used to coming through these 3-set matches in the later stages of slams recently. And Anisimova, not the fittest player on tour, you maybe wouldn't say, and she can get tight. She's a bit of a choker, I would say. So I thought it was incredible. I think she was amazing to not get upset after the second set. She had a lot of opportunities to close out in the third, including serving for it and getting broken while she served for it. She then broke Sabalenka to win the match. And yeah, I mean, I'll let you talk a bit about the overall match, and then I'll talk about what I think won her that match, because I don't think it's what we expect to win her matches. How did you feel about the overall performance?
I mean, I thought it was good. I think most importantly, actually, she started very well on serve, especially. That was my thing coming in. I was like, off the ground, Anisimova can do a lot of damage and probably will win quite a few rallies and all that. But I was thinking Sabalenka is a better server, and most of the time I would consider her a bit of returner as well. So
for sure, I think Sabalenka's return has been one of the keys that's made her into the best player in the world right now.
Yeah, but it hasn't really been on at Wimbledon is the thing. So, but yeah, that was my thing about this matchup coming in. But Anisimova actually really helped herself by serving well early on. Making quite a few first serve. I feel like she was hitting it bigger, maybe a bit bigger than usual. It was often at like 110, which she can be below that quite often. So I think that was pretty big. And then she played this, I think, amazing actually return game to break in that first set. I mean, it was one of those when it felt like Sabalenka was going to find a way every single time, and Anisimova just next point, next deuce, just found another great shot, another great return, and it ended up in a Sabalenka double fault, which I think was very much earned by all of that pressure that Anisimova had accumulated throughout that game.
I remember that double fault and thinking, like, isolated, this is going to look like Sabalenka fumbling a first set and just giving it away. But it was exactly that, what you said, that the context of all of the returns before that really forced that double fault. It wasn't a Sabalenka double fault in the way that Sabalenka double faults are sometimes Sabalenka double faults. Yeah. It was an earned double fault from how well she'd been returning. Yeah, I also think go on.
Okay, and then second set, I mean, it felt like it was going to be much of the same. They were both like holding, and then there was this kind of like weird and like tense moment surrounding like grunting and all of it. We probably don't have to get into all that here, but yeah. And then I felt like Anisimova's forehand started breaking down quite a bit, and I was like, ooh, she got broken from like 30 love with like some pretty bad mistakes, and then Sabalenka just seized control of that set basically, and then early third set Sabalenka broke immediately, again targeting the forehand, playing like really smart aggression, and in that moment it felt like the momentum was on her side to like a pretty wild extent. I honestly I thought Sabalenka had a pretty great chance to close that like straightforward fashion, but Anisimova came back. She started hitting her forehand again with more conviction, and just did a lot of damage on actually Sabalenka serve. I think she broke twice in a row from that point. And of course a really like tense ending to the match, because you would expect that. She also got tight trying to finish off Pavlyuchenkova. So even bigger occasion, probably an even bigger, better like competitor facing her. So took her a few tries to get over the line, but I think she did like really great. She competed so well. I think honestly, beyond the game, beyond the performances, beyond the backhand, she's been fighting really, really well, like all the way throughout. Yeah.
That is the the thing that I think really impressed me is the fact that she has that like fight, because she's not a player who gives in, but you see how frustrated she can get after points, and it's sometimes like she's 30 love up and she misses a shot and she'll scream or something like that. She gets so frustrated, it seems more so than is warranted by the performance in that point. And you think that should affect her, but actually I don't know. It feels like she's kind of made some effort to be able to deal with those and like move on and say, that point pissed me off, and I can react like it's pissed me off, but then we move on to the next one. And there are players who are like that. I can't now off the top of my head think about who it reminds me of, but there are players that we've seen them go through that process of they used to be players who get really upset at themselves if they mess something up, and used to feed into the rest of their game, and then part of them becoming a better player is growing through that and being able to accept the mistakes that they made. I think it's so cool, and it's like, I mean, it's probably just like part of the maturing as well. Like, she's a lot older than she was when we were, first watching her, or what we were used to. She was really a teenager when she showed up. So yeah, that last bit, the closing it out, Pavlyuchenkova and the Sabalenka match, that is, I think, will be a key to the final, because I mean, we'll talk about it when we probably talk about the final, but I just don't think she can afford to do that. If she is ever close to a situation like this, even if it's in a set, I don't think she'll be able to afford that in the final, and that may end up being the difference if the pure tennis isn't the difference. Mm-hmm. I will talk about a little bit about what I kind of noticed from this match, because I especially think Anisimova has some of the best ground strokes ever. Like, her backhand is one of the best you will ever watch, and I was saying this to Sam yesterday on Twitter, that I think it's underrated because it's a flashy shot, and I don't think people really respect or acknowledge how solid it is, and how it just doesn't really give up errors at all. I mean, Sabalenka kept going to the backhand, and the commentators were saying, just stay away from it. You can't force anything from it. And a lot of players have deadly shots, deadly weapons that are breakdownable. You think about like the Iga forehand, one of the best forehands you will ever see as an attacking shot when it's on, but when people can target it and break it down, it can break down. Anisimova's backhand is really solid, and this is how we usually think of her, right? It's the ground strokes. I think she won this match from other stuff. She served really well, but her return was something I'd never seen before. When did she get a chip return? Like, when was that something she was like able to do over and over again and not just make it up on the spot? When was she able to deal with slices so well? Drop shot, actually. She hit a few really good ones. On her backhand, it's like, are you just not going to strike that? And no, she hit a few really good ones. In the moment, you regret it because you're like, you use the backhand, but then she hits the drop shot and it's good, and you're like, okay. Yeah. For me, it's a very subtle point, but really, I think what won her this match, two things: returning and the ability to deal with Sabalenka's slices. Because Sabalenka probably was clued up on Tatiana Maria, took apart Anisimova in the Queen's final. All she does is slice. If you slice, that will force Anisimova into errors, but she was just incredible with them, and my mic's picked up a bit of wind. She was incredible with dealing with the slices, and I don't know where she got it from. Is that happened in the 3 weeks since the Queen's final? Is David Law right in his assessment of Anisimova being a variety queen? I don't know, but if you want to go back and watch that match, you watch out for how Anisimova deals with every time Sabalenka slices, and it didn't cause her as much issues as I think Sabalenka was expecting. What did you think from a kind of tennis technical perspective?
Yeah, I mean, returning I do think was very, very important, because that's ended up being what made the difference in that first set, I think. Just like returning quality from both. On one side, Anisimova being like really on it and making so many good ones on both first serve returns and second serve returns, which was big because it meant that Sabalenka had to go for like really precise spots if she wanted like an easy +1 or like an easy point, which makes it way harder, of course. And then on the other side of the net, Sabalenka just missed way too many. Like it's not even about like return quality; it's about making it in, and she missed. I would have to like look at it. It's probably around like 15 or 20. That's way too many. And just it's Anisimova honestly should have felt more pressure on her serve than she actually did, I think.
Yeah, she was rolling through service games too easily for what you expect from Sabalenka opponent, because like I said, I think the Sabalenka return has moved on so well recently. Yeah. And
beyond that, just great competing and belief, and so forehand was, I mean, went away, but then she trusted it again, which I also think was pretty huge.
It's what I said, was it after the Noskova match? She knows that there's something bigger than her. It's the performance of someone who feels like, I want to win this title. Of course, they all want to win the title, but it's the performance of someone who like actually believes that they can do it, and that they kind of are doing things you've never seen from them before.
It's very key, isn't it?
Very keys, exactly, yeah. Like keys in that Australian Open. I still think it's so funny. It's like, when did you become the best clutch player ever? Very keys. Anything else to say on... I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about her tennis when we talk about the final, but anything else on that semi?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well.
Yeah. And then, a few minutes after that, Anisimova gets the biggest win of her life into her first ever Grand Slam final. A few minutes after that, Iga and Belinda Bencic are introduced onto court, and a few minutes after that, they leave court. It's just how it is.
Happens sometimes.
I've only watched basically the first set of this, so I think my assessment probably isn't going to be especially accurate or complete, so I'll defer to you, because I think you had your eyes on every ball.
Yes.
What did you think?
Really great, like really great. Better than anything she's produced in this tournament, and honestly probably better than anything she's produced in like last year.
What would you say was the best match since what match?
Roland Garros final, something along those lines.
Against Paolini.
24. Yeah.
Okay.
It's on that level, and in some ways also more impressive even. It's just, I mean, you look at the stats and it's like, Bencic didn't even play that bad. She finished with 11 winners to 8 and 4 servers, and and that won her 2 games in the match. It's really brutal what she was able to produce. I mean, it's basically, she felt like she started every single point inside the court on the front foot. It serve return, she just gained a huge edge in that way, and when the rally started, she was always attacking huge and basically not missing much at all. So that's really hard to stop, of course. And Bencic probably wasn't quite at her best, but basically her assessment was I would have needed to be at my absolute best and play the best tennis of my life and go for every single shot and make all of them. So it didn't feel like she thought she was especially close or and that's what happened in that match basically. And honestly, Świątek has played well in basically every single match she's played here.
Let's go, Katie McNally.
Yeah, I mean, she the only one to take a set so far, and doing very very things that no one else that Iga has faced at least could actually do. In the whole yeah, exactly. Yeah, great volleys and that kind of stuff.
Settle the debate then. How would Iga have fared against Laura Siegemund?
I think she would have still demolished her, honestly, because one thing about that McNally set was also that she made 80 like percent of first serve in, which is really huge. Sigmund serve was always to me looked very vulnerable all the way, and because Sabalenka had been having returning issues that didn't really show until like later on. I think just that like first strike difference would have been pretty huge, and actually slices alone, Świątek handles actually pretty well. Kind of depends.
So what do you think it is? I mean, this is probably not pertinent because I don't think Anisimova has any of the tools that McNally has.
Yeah.
What do you think could beat this Iga or could trouble this Iga? Like, what do you think that McNally did? Is there anyone who does that really well, who could kind of push Iga?
I think you need like multiple things. I do think big serving is huge. You can't like you have to outserve her when she's in that type of form. There is no like outlasting her. That's just not a thing in rallies at least. So I think you would need that, and yeah, I mean then a good mix of like attacking tennis, attacking returns, and then here and there net rushing maybe, like pushing her into like hit difficult passing shots or something. It's probably seems like really hard to execute, honestly. Like maybe like peak Mukova, like the best Mukova performance you've ever seen or something.
I was going to say it sounds to me like you're saying Mukova should be in this final and she'd be the one who'd make it close. Let's see if we can wheel her in. I'm sure she's still about.
You know,
we can put her and Anisimova both on the other side of the net. Anisimova takes the ground strokes. Mukova just stays at the net, and we'll see how they do. Yeah. I mean, I watched this match late, having already found out the result. I felt I felt extremely confident in the result anyway. I wasn't so sure that it would be so one-sided, but, you know, Bencic, she's a slam underperformer. Iga, I mean, she's probably still a slam underperformer when you think about compared to the rest of her tour results, but once she gets to these late stages, very hard to beat. She's lost. Well, actually, now it's 3 semi-finals in slams, but one was to Sabalenka, one was to Keys from match point up, so like was pretty close, and then one was to Danielle Collins when she was pre-Iga. So I felt pretty confident about the result. When I was watching the match, therefore, it wasn't from an entertainment perspective as much. It wasn't from a let's see how this match went. It was more let's see what Anisimova will be up against. So I was kind of seeing it from that perspective, and I think that therefore probably took away a bit from how high the level was, because I was watching and thinking, that was excellent, but Anisimova would do better than Bencic did. The problem is, you know, Iga might also do better, and it's quite likely that you know, you don't think she could play better than that? No,
and I think if she plays that well, I think she always wins that. Honestly,
I think she'll win it, but I also, you know, I saw the result and the reaction from everyone saying this is one of the best performances ever at Wimbledon, and then I watched the match and I thought my opinion on Anisimova's, you know, potential for embarrassment changed a bit, because I did think actually at this stage Anisimova can do a lot of the things that Bencic was trying to do, but better. So I think the one way that you could trouble Iga and make her not just be able to attack and attack from anywhere in the court is by rushing her. Bencic used to have that. I think she's lost a little bit of the top speed on her ball. I don't know whether it's after, you know, coming back from maternity or whatever, but she was not as hard hitting in that semi-final, I don't think.
I mean, she knows it's always kind of weird with Bencic. It's always more about like redirection than like pace creation. So it was still possible to like take the racket like out of her hands like completely, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I'd agree with that. But I think I don't know what it is. She's just I haven't been super impressed by her. Sometimes when you're watching Bencic, you're like, I know that she's not a hard hitter on her own. She is, as you said, she's a redirect merchant. But the ball comes so fast. She's taking it so early, and she can't get rushed. But I haven't been seeing that this Wimbledon, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I think she pretty much said in her press conference that like she's happy with the result. Of course, she's proud of her run, as she should be, but she also feels like she's not playing her best tennis, which I think is pretty fair.
Yeah, and I do think she was, I mean, excellent result for her. I think she was particularly fortunate that it was Mira in that match, because I think she could have lost earlier. You know, Mira was pushing for some reason, so that was a match in slow motion.
Yeah.
And actually, I think like Bencic was almost out counterpunching her, which is just not really what you want to see. Anyway, not meant to be talking about her. My point is more about how I think I do think Anisimova will be a tougher opponent, and I mean you should hope so. But yeah, I think a lot of the things that I was seeing that Bencic was kind of trying to do and would sometimes work, I think Anisimova could do and execute better. So that is taking the ball early and trying to rush, getting it deep, so Iga doesn't have the opportunity to, you know, really set up and hit the shot that she wants to hit. She has to kind of have to, you know, you want to interrupt her, especially on that forehand swing, so she doesn't have all the time to get to get all the way through it, basically. And the returning as well. I'm much more impressed by Anisimova's returning. So, yeah, basically my point is, having seen a bit of that semi-final, I'm less concerned for Anisimova.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think she would need to be like really, really nervous to perform, I mean, worse than Bencic, or like on the same level as Bencic. I think she'll do better, for sure. She's just, I think, just playing better tennis. So I think it's going to be interesting. And actually, it's funny because they aren't like similar players. You know, they don't have, I wouldn't say, similar play styles, in theory. But I think they'll have to approach it in like a similar way, I guess. Like they'll both try to, you know, control the first strike of the whole thing, because they'll both think, oh, if she gets on the front foot, the point is probably like cooked. Especially for, I mean, Anisimova, who isn't still a great defender, yeah, I think it's fair to say. So you know, she doesn't want to just let Iga have control of her serve and of the return as well. And so, like, they actually, and even then, they will both want to target the other forehand as well. So it's pretty funny. It's really different players who really like try to do similar things, I guess.
Yeah, another thing I sort of noticed about the Anisimova semi-final, and I hope you kind of see that carry through into the final, is that she seemed to have a really good game plan, which is just not something I associate with her before. And I don't know whether that's a coaching thing or it's just a her thing. And I think if she has the right game plan for the final, she has a slim chance. If she just kind of tries to play like, you know, whatever, I have good tennis and I can hit nice ground strokes, I don't see it coming off. What do you think are going to be like? What are going to be the keys? I know you said how the players will approach it. What are we like looking out for? Is it going to be, you know, which player has a higher first serve percentage, or is it going to be the player who wins the first set? Like, what do you expect?
I think the start will be like probably quite big, even more so for Anisimova probably, because we've seen Świątek play some slam finals before. I think she went like 3-love up in like every single one except for the Paolini one, which was like 2-all, and then she like ran away for the like next like 10 games. So it's about trying to like survive that initial like surge of like pressure and intensity that Świątek tends to start with. I think it's about that, and for that I think she'll need to serve really well. She'll need to make a bunch of first serves, and they'll probably need to be decent as well, because if the Świątek return is on, it can't just be, oh, I'll just make, you know, I'll make it in and we'll see what happens. No, it has to be like really high quality. So I think that's a big challenge early on. And then if they both like trade holes or something, or even if Anisimova breaks first, then it's way more likely to become like a match, a contest, where both can have chances. So I think as far as like something to look for, yes, how Anisimova serves and how well she just starts, and you know, does does she or does she not let the Iga start like get into her head quickly? Because that's also the issue when you have, you know, best of three and you are playing against this player who you know is a great front runner. Like you go down to 11, it's like, oh, I could be out of this match in like 40 minutes, which I think is a really like huge like psychological blow.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the points I would look out for. So from an Anisimova perspective, it is. I mean, it's so hard because basically, she needs every element of her game to be very, very good. You know, she can't afford to have something that she would rely on or use being below par, and that's, I'd say, not below par, below the level it was in the Sabalenka match. So she needs to be returning as well, hitting as deep, another thing that I was super impressed by. She needs her ground strokes to be ground stroking, you can usually rely on that, and she needs to be able to deal with any variety as well as she did in the Sabalenka match, and she needs to serve as well.
Yeah.
So those are little points. From a kind of match management perspective, you need to hope that her nerves are just flawless, really, because Iga just is the worst opponent, I think, to face when your nerves are anything but flawless, because she doesn't give you time to settle into the match. If she notices something, she pounces and you're already 6-1 down, and then you're freaking out because you don't have time because the match is halfway over. So she needs to show up and feel like I'm fucking ready for this. And I kind of think that she will, for some reason. I always consider, I think Daniela Hantakova said this before, that slam semi-finals are more stressful and tense and nerve-wracking than finals. I don't know why it is, but I think you can sometimes notice it as well. There's a few players where that's the exception for, but I think usually once you've got through the slam semi, the finals seems to be a bit more relaxing. Obviously still not relaxing. But I think her nerves are going to have to be there early on.
Yeah.
She's going to have to not get frustrated by Iga, because Iga's extremely good at frustrating people by being incredible in defence, incredible on return, absolutely relentless, all playing every point as well. There's no, we get an easy hole to kind of ease myself into the match. None of that. If she can go up 2-love, 3-love, 4-love, she will. And then lastly, Anisimova is going to have to be perfect on her opportunities when she gets chances. You can't be serving for the set, serving for the match, and get broken and then see, I'll have a chance in the return game. None of that. We see that Mukova had a similar situation. She was up a break in the third set in Roland Garros, and I do think there was not much she could do. Like, Iga was just incredible from that point, but again, she let an opportunity go, and there's no looking back from Iga from that point. So those are the kind of 8 things Anisimova's going to have to be perfect on.
Like just a few things, and then it's like
also if she is like her touch and volleys, if you could make them a bit better, that's also great. For Iga, this is what I think. It's not as many points that she'll need to execute, I don't think. She's going to have to not get rushed at all. So if Anisimova is managing to get her shots deep and hard, Iga's forehand particularly will have to hold up, and she'll have to not get frustrated if it feels targeted and starts not holding up. Yeah. That's one point. Second point is she's going to have to make a decent number of first serves, because if Anisimova can pounce on the second serve on return, and that starts happening, we've seen that before. When that starts happening, it can kind of go off the rails quite quickly. And then the last thing is, I guess, she's going to have to be different to how we've seen her for the majority of this year.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually, because of course, coming into that match, you're on the mental side, you're more concerned about Anisimova, because of course, it's her first time against someone who has never lost a slam final. So that makes sense on that front, but also Iga's had a rough 13 months, literally, since she made that last RG final. So there is also, I guess, a chance that Iga will struggle more on that aspect that you would have expected to last year. So yeah, I think it will be important, and I agree that she'll need to serve well. She's been doing it quite consistently, I would say, all throughout, and that's probably at the end of the day, it's the biggest improvement that she's found on the grass. It's very interesting, you know. I don't think she's like hitting it differently. She's just making more, and like they are making more spots. I don't know how it happened. It's kind of strange. I hope she'll like delve into that. Maybe I don't like explain how that happened.
Iga, I'm sure you're listening to this. It's a great listen before the final. If you want to come on the pod and talk to us about what you've done with the serve, DM.
Because she's always very, very open about like technical changes.
She's always super open about technical changes. She's always keen to do guest appearances on English language, tiny niche podcasts. So let us know. Yeah. And if you do come on, I'll be a fan of you forever. maybe until your next win from match point down against Naomi. I think one thing I'm really, really, really interested in is whether this run on the grass has essentially built her back up. Whether we can now expect to see the Iga Świątek of old in this final, or whether it's going to be a little bit affected by the last, like you said, almost last 12 months. I do see it that she's kind of completely refound herself, but I don't know. There's a chance that she's still, there's that sort of lingering, I don't know. Yeah.
It's really just hard to know until you actually get there. You know, I was actually even thinking about that before the bench match. You know, she's lost all these big semis, so maybe she'll come out and like not be great. But then, you know, she basically what happened in that first game. Actually, she made like 6 first serves and hit like 4 like +1 winners. And they're like, well, she's probably pretty fine on that front. So yeah.
That's actually another thing that I didn't think about. My God, there's too many things that Anisimova will have to be perfect on. Iga, if she doesn't want to hit winners, if she doesn't want to go high risk, she can just move the ball about, because she's incredibly good at moving the ball about. And Anisimova is a player that if you get her on the run,
basically I think it's interesting. I think in that match she was just first gear, point 1 to last point, which means
it was a bit. I haven't watched all of it, but it did feel a bit like when she played Halep in the Roland Garros round 4, where it was like she was in hyper aggressive mode without any doubts and without anything missing, and so you didn't even really get to see all of the levels of Iga. It was like basher Iga almost. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, it's really interesting how that happens. But before that, in other matches, I feel like when, you know, the forehand, for instance, wasn't like fully on, like sometimes she was missing aggressive shots, she did find a way to, you know, reel it back in, you know, make returns, like steal a few points, you know, from defense as well. I think if she I think honestly she'll come out pretty aggressive, and then she'll actually see how she's like executing, or at least I hope that's what she will do, because then she can also, you know, try to extend points and, you know, move Anisimova. I think it would be really huge.
Yeah. Another thing I just remembered Anisimova has to do perfectly well is her finishing shots. You can't afford to be at the net and hitting something into the net. Okay, Amanda, I hope you're writing this down.
Or like even hitting something to like the side where Iga is. You know.
Yeah. Perfect decision making on your finishing shots, please. There's something else I want to ask you. Has Iga stopped sliding as much in the last few months, or 12 months, whatever?
Although I would say no, but on grass I think she just doesn't want to.
No. I'm curious, because I remember in as a summer hardcourt season last year, people were saying she doesn't even slide anymore. But do you think she's still sliding as much?
It's interesting. I would need to like spend quite a bit of time like watching matches from years prior, and also full matches from like recent months, because it's not like I can just watch highlights and from that like 15-point sequence know, she's sliding less or more. That's not enough like data. So I don't actually know. I think she was sliding a good amount on clay, and even in Australia as well. I don't think it has like left her game. I think, but she has made a point to just rely on it as little as possible on grass, because I think she just doesn't feel great doing it. Actually, you see Sinner and like Djokovic and Alcaraz like doing it every single time. So maybe that's also the way forward. But for Iga, I think right now it's about like running and stopping actually at the right time, which is something she used to like really struggle with.
I ask because all the way back when it was in 2022 when the streak ended at Wimbledon, there was obviously so many kind of think pieces or whatever about why Iga's game is rubbish on grass and she'll need to change this and that and that and that, and the forehand has too much topspin and you can't win with a forehand with that much topspin. You need to flatten it out. And I thought, you know what? I don't agree with any of that. I think the biggest issue at that time was that she literally struggles to move without sliding. She's so used to it and she's just been doing it since probably she was really young that it's hard for her to stop and change direction without sliding. And you could see a few times during that Wimbledon run, she would try and move without sliding and struggle, so then she'd go to a slide and she wouldn't be able to pull it off because learning to slide on grass is a whole different thing. So I was just wondering whether whether she had learnt to move without sliding and then been able to execute that on grass.
I think like the biggest difference is serve and movement. I think I agree that like the forehand thing like never made much sense. Like of course she struggles a bit more when it's like a lower like bouncing course, but like first of all the course just aren't bouncing that low at this stage in the tournament to begin with, and then it's mostly about trusting it, you know, and feel like okay, she might shank a few. Honestly, I think she will. She almost always does, even when she's playing great. But it's just about that just happened. Next point. It's you know, if it doesn't get in her head, she can still execute it. You know, like when she hits a good serve and she has like a forehand in the middle of the court, it's not bouncing low. You know, she has all the time in the world to like set it up and go after it. And even that's not something she was actually able to do in years past because she just didn't trust much of anything in her game, really.
Yeah. I think this is quite an important thing with athletes, is that sometimes technical changes are needed and technical advice is needed, but actually more often than not, the thing that you're most confident and comfortable with will be the best way of doing that thing, because the changes needed, what's needed to go into changing that thing will have more of an effect on its quality. So like, yes, Iga could have a better forehand for grass, but actually it's better that we let her hit the forehand she knows and loves and knows how to do perfectly, and say, okay, we're losing 3% of its excellence potentially, but the trust in it and the ability to hit it without thinking about it is so much better.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I always felt like the way forward was just finding a way for her to execute her game on grass and not trying to become a completely different player.
Exactly.
I never felt like that meant
you
sense.
should just play like Ash Barty. Like, just you serve, you serve volley, you got a great backhand slide. Why don't you just play like Ash Barty? No.
You know, it's really how people speak. It's so funny.
I know.
It's like it's happened so often when people like watch Maria doing well. It's like, oh, they should all play like Barty. It's like, I wonder why they haven't thought of that. You know, what a great piece of advice. You know, yeah, never felt like it made much sense. And also, we've seen that you don't need all that to perform on grass. You know, Halep is a Wimbledon champion. Like, you know, and she was just literally playing her game.
Everyone who has won Wimbledon, everyone who has won Roland Garros in the last 15 years, aside from Ostapenko, has won Wimbledon.
Yeah, not one, but Ostapenko's done well.
I think so. No, I think so. I think that's right.
I think it's the best time, actually. So.
Yeah, Ostapenko. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like I like it's Muguruza, Halep, obviously Serena, Iga's about to win today, Krejcikova, Sharapova, Barty. Yeah, I think the one is who is the Russian? Schiavone?
Yeah.
Not Russian, but and also before 15 years ago.
Miskina?
So I think Miskina. That was 2004.
Yeah.
I think since 2010, there's only been one player who's won Roland Garros in their career and not won two, maybe, who've won Roland Garros in their career and not won Wimbledon.
Interesting.
So I actually think I kind of think natural surfaces sometimes... I've said this before. Sometimes what you're good at on clay can like wrap around and help you on grass, even though they're kind of considered polar opposites. And especially in this era when like it's for women, it's not just a serve bot forehand contest. I'm not convinced how well Lindsay Davenport would do in this day and age on grass. No offense to her, like, yeah. Anyway, I guess we should do any kind of other things to watch out for in that final.
I think that's pretty good assessment of it. So, how do you feel? Like, what's the prediction?
It's so hard. Like, I can see a world where it's a tight 3-set match, or tight-ish 3-set match. I can see sometimes you literally can't. I could never see Paolini pushing Iga to 3 at Roland Garros.
Yeah,
like it. No hatred to her. Just even no matter if she does everything perfectly that she can do.
Yeah,
I can see a world where Anisimova pushes Iga to 3 here. The thing is, it would just have to be like 2 back-to-back perfect performances and a very Keys-esque run from her, where it's like, this is my time and I'm feeling it. I'm so concerned about the nerves and her feet feeling heavy, and then like Iga not giving you the space to grow from that. So I'll say, I think Iga, 2 sets, and I think maybe it will be, the second one will be the close one, like in Ons at the US Open final. 7-5 or 7-6. Second set. First set could be ugly.
I can see that. Yeah. Ultimately, it's very interesting. Yeah, I think pretty much the same way. I think the most likely outcome is actually Iga in 2, but I can envision a like 3-setter when then it could become a whole more like mental, and a whole more like unpredictable and like uncertain on both sides of that.
That's the problem, that if it's a 3-set match, it becomes a lot about it being a mental match. And if it were Andreeva in the final, I'd say maybe she wins that in 3. If it were someone else, I think that Anisimova very likely still loses the 3-set mental match. Very, very likely.
I mean, she didn't in the semis, and she didn't against Moskova either. So they're slightly different beasts. I don't know. You know,
it's Sabalenka, and also, I mean, on the Sabalenka thing, Anisimova's a bad head-to-head for her, and this is one point in my favour. We've had this conversation in every podcast where I say Anisimova is a tricky head-to-head for Sabalenka. That's my thing, is that I think even if we go 3, I still think Iga's winning that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we'll need a Iga who is affected by the last 12 months and whose mental has kind of been eroded a bit. Yeah.
I can see that, yeah, for sure.
How long is it going to be? Because my friend's having a birthday party where they're playing rounders, and it starts at 4, and I said to him that I'm going to watch the Wimbledon women's final, but I might not be that late.
I think well, first of all, they won't start at 4, they're starting at 4:15, because tennis, that's how it works. So then I think like 1:30 is like fairly safe bet, I guess.
Okay, that would be quite long.
Yeah, that's like a tight 2-setters ish.
Okay. Yeah. Above all, I hope, to be honest, I hope Anisimova's proud of her run.
I think she will be. You know,
okay.
That's the vibe I get from like listening to her. She just seems proud of all of it. You know, her comeback, just the way she has managed all of it. The fact that she didn't even qualify last year. I think she's able to, having gone through all of that, I think she's really able to put it all into perspective. So I think either way, I don't see her being like devastated, like at the like trophy ceremony or something.
Okay, good. But you know, again, it is hard because you can never know when you're going to make another slam final when you're someone like Anisimova. Another thing, little like last bit on this, is that these two, they've never played before on the Pro Tour, which is, it's very rare. Like
they're the same age, and they've both been good for like a long time. Yeah, I actually think that might be a factor as well. Like when we talk about like early stages being important, that's also to do with them like not really having felt each other's like ball before. I don't even think they practiced together at all. So it will be interesting to see how they both like cope with that, I guess.
And on that, usually I'd say that really works in Iga's favour, because a lot of people who play her are like, this is different. Like, this is different. But people also say that about Anisimova. Yeah. I remember Naomi after the Australian Open match in 2022. It was. She was like, she hits harder than anyone I've ever played, and like she doesn't. She just hits. It's so early, and there's so much like redirecting of the play, and so flat that it feels like it's coming at you really quickly, and it really overwhelmed and surprised her, because you don't kind of see it when you're watching that as much, I don't think. I mean, we only have seeing it to go by, we haven't played her. But I do think it could be on both sides. I think Iga could be shocked by how rushed she is, and Anisimova could be shocked by how relentless Iga is. So interesting to kind of see that.
For sure. Yeah. So, I think that's about all we have on this final, which is happening in less than 4 hours.
Yeah, I have 3 hours, huh?
No.
Is it not in 3 hours? Oh my god, I can't read clocks. Yeah, sorry. It's 4 hours and 40 minutes or so.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
and with all the faff, it'll be about 5 hours, yeah.
Yes. So, please check it out. Listen to the podcast ASAP, I guess.
Yeah, and guys... Go on.
No, I was just about to say, this will be out of date very, very quickly, of course. So, thank you if you took the time to listen. Maybe in a way as a way even to wait, a thing to distract you while you wait for the final. Maybe that's what it will do for you. So I hope that happens. And do share it with your friends and stuff. If anyone's saying, yes.
Oh, Wimbledon final, what's going on? Who are these players? Maybe we should have done a bit more of an introduction about who the players are and etc. But I mean, I don't expect there's going to be tons of non-tennis fans listening to this.
Probably not. No.
If you are interested, here it is at the end. Iga Świątek is a 5-time Slam champion. She is one of the best clay players we've ever seen on the women's side, and she was always doubted on grass. So this Wimbledon final is a little bit of a surprise. She's also in her worst season of her career since she became world number 1, which is where she'd been ranked for the majority of the last 4 seasons. So this final, a bit of a surprise, but she is an excellent player. It will be her 3rd rung in the career Grand Slam. She's Polish, if you really never heard of her before. And she'll play Amanda Anisimova, who's playing in her first Grand Slam final. She was a bit of a teen phenom, made the semi-finals at Roland Garros when she was 19? No, 17.
Yeah, 17.
It was in 2019, 17. She struggled with her nerve that match and lost to the eventual champion, and hasn't been back to a Slam semi-final since. She now found herself in her first Grand Slam final in what is also a career best year. She won a 1000 title this year. That's the 2nd rung of tournaments below Grand Slams. She's entered the top 20 for the first time in her career, and now entered the top 10 for the first time in her career. So Anisimova on the up, Iga kind of coming back after a bit of a drought. Good narratives. Yeah. Thank you for listening if you did. And Sam, you got to do the outro again.
Yes, sure. Yeah, so thank you for listening. We'll probably be back with a preview of the men's final that should be out tomorrow. And then we will have a whole review of the whole Wimbledon event, and even of our experiences actually attending the tournament. That should be out sometime within the next week. So thank you for checking it out. Share, do your thing. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye.